Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tech-Mex Podcast. We're your hosts, Eric Amando. This is episode Ochenta y Siete. We're bringing you the top stories in Bitcoin tech and wealth so you can spend your crypto on pizza.
Like pizza. So, for the audience, this is one of the legends. It's not a legend, actually. It truly happened. Back in basically it was in 525.
Like 15 years ago. 522, May 22nd.
May 22nd of 2010, if I remember.
2010.
So there was this guy, I'm trying to remember I wrote it here, Laszlo, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Do you know how to pronounce it?
Heinyex?
It surprised me always your accent for different languages, Chinese.
Sometimes it comes out in Spanish, sometimes it's more American.
Sure.
Well, we owe this guy a big debt of gratitude, though, yes, right?
And that's the reason why he has a day, right? A Bitcoin pizza day. This dude, a little bit of a backstory. This dude was in a social media, I think it was Reddit, so where he is like, hey, I'm willing to buy, to buy something. And like he basically like, hey, I have some Bitcoins, and nobody was getting the like, hey, if you send me if I send you a pizza, I'll get the how much? It was 10,000 if I remember right.
Yeah, it was like 10,000 Bitcoin for two pizzas, like, which at the time was worth about maybe $40 or so, $41.
It would be about $41, yes.
So I mean, yeah. So here's the thing. The big deal is not that, oh wow, someone spent $40 on paying somebody, to get him a pizza delivered or whatever, because all the guy did was like put it into the system, had it delivered to the guy's address. But what it showed, or what it explained, was that you were able to use Bitcoin even at that early a time, right? We're talking about 2010, right? When it had just been like created in 2009, just like a year earlier, right? Mm-hmm. So even that early, people are like seeing there's value in Bitcoin. I'm willing to do work for Bitcoin, and it has some value. Well, now the other side of that is now 15 years later, 10,000 Bitcoin is worth over $1 billion. So this guy ended up paying 10,000 Bitcoin, which is now worth $1 billion for two pizzas. So, he made a big sacrifice for the Bitcoin community to prove that Bitcoin at that point was able to be used for purchases, essentially. What do you think about that, man? How do you think that guy lives with himself?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's like Satoshi, right? If it's a group or it's a person, right? That's the reason why I think that maybe they are dead, right? Like Satoshi is dead, because to live with 1 million Bitcoins and don't move it, and probably even if it is alive, maybe destroy the keys. There is so much temptation there, right? And we mentioned it before. It might be the first trillionaire. If Bitcoin is still going up to 1 million, it might be the first trillionaire, Satoshi. So going back to your question, on how do I feel? It was very hard in that point to know that it will become this large. We saw the increase. I mean, some of our coins, we got it $100, right? And when we were mining, because it was up and down.
Or less.
And then when it went to 1,000, right, it's like it's 10x, right? So it's like it is respect for all of the hodlers, right? To be able to see ups and downs and just keep believing on the project, I guess. And now everybody's believing it, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, very, very big, very, very big. So give you some context. One Bitcoin at that point was worth less than a penny. Okay. It was worth $0.0041. So, less than a penny is like 40% of 1 penny. But 10,000 of them, was worth two pizzas. So just know that Bitcoin has a history. It's been able to hold this value and grow its value over the last 15 years. I know it may seem a lot more expensive nowadays, right now that it's over $100,000, but just know that this is kind of the path, and you'll see, you'll see these spurts of growth along the way. Right now, we're in the middle of a bull run too. We just, made new all-time highs this last week, but it will continue to grow. there's nothing but good news that we're seeing, and not financial advice. We got to hit our disclaimer there, but we continue to see good news coming out of here. These new Bitcoin reserves from states, from nations, from pension funds, all these folks, and it's just getting started.
As you mentioned, it truly showed that Bitcoin could transact and store value. And I guess now the question is, this guy, right, Laszlo, man, such a fool. Well, I mean, he is one of those things that is like it had to happen in order to prove that you can transact it on it, right? And this guy, it's kind of hard to know because I was looking his net worth. It's not public, but in that time he was transacting almost 100,000 bitcoins. So my opinion is that I actually probably he didn't kept a huge stash, because if you are in a range of 100 to 100,000, you're almost like in the Michael Saylor club, you know. and I don't hear him too often to come around, so that makes
maybe he has enough money to hide his identity and which island he's living on.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, he still probably kept some chunk, but not to the level of hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, which again, it's a huge amount, right? So as you say, 1 billion, it will be equivalent in today's prices.
Yep. Well, also you mentioned like for hodlers, very difficult thing to hold through all the ups and downs. So this person was obviously around from the very beginning. He was around for the very beginning. So he's been through, like, this is their fourth cycle, assuming they're still in it. So you've seen a lot. You've been through a lot, bro. Congratulations. We thank you for your sacrifice and for making sure that you got that pizza that night.
You were mentioning that some people in Reddit, they said that I lost my Bitcoin in a boat. You were mentioning
in a boating accident.
A boating accident. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, well, it's kind of like a running joke on Reddit, I think. You know, like, no, I used to have Bitcoin, but I lost it in a boating accident. So maybe Laszlo here lost his Bitcoin in a boating accident. So don't go looking for him, IRS.
But it's basically, do you think that is because they are trying to evade, like, or they are just trying not to get hacked, or what is it?
Yeah, it could be, you know, it could be,
or they are lying
anything.
that they never got Bitcoin, and it's like
you never know, right? you don't press to know how much Bitcoin people have, and you don't share how much Bitcoin you have. Those are the rules of Fight Club.
I like those. And no keys, no keys, not your coins, no keys.
Not your keys, not your coins. There you go.
Cool. All right, moving on to the next topic. This week was good too. It's all-time highs.
Yeah,
112,000.
Well, we made new history, and to commemorate this, our buddy, I forget what this guy's name is, but you will recognize him as soon as you see him. He made a new video for us. Check this out.
So this video is from 2013, and now in today's, he almost didn't change. He looks very similar.
He looks surprisingly like very much the same.
So who's that guy?
I think this guy hodled. I'm sure this guy hodled.
I don't know. His house still looks the same to me.
You know, I think he said yes. He does have his Lambo. So,
what is the name of that guy?
You'd have to look him up. It didn't say on the video. Is it Casey Adams?
Yeah. Like today I'm looking to. Let's see. Yeah, not sure.
That was the either way, that was the TikTok names. But the guy is very well recognized because he made that video, and he had so much enthusiasm, and he was so excited about it hitting $111 back in 2013. I remember those days, right? We were around during that time too. And now 2025, it's hitting $111,000. So just 12 years later. That's a big move. What, 1000x?
And people also trying to figure out why you didn't buy more. Like, bro, like it's like, sure, in a hindsight, it's like, why didn't buy it when it was a penny? Right?
Always, yeah, exactly. Like you always think, man, I should have bought more. But you know, it is what it is. You get Bitcoin at the price that you deserve. So hopefully you've been collecting your karma, and you deserve it at a low price. So
the other thing is, I have here this is like that was the IQ test. Right, like if you were in those times there, like that means that you were sharp. That was interesting. I have heard that from different techies. So who knows? I feel that in that time we were mining, which was funny, right? Like instead of just buying straight, we were just trying to create the hardware and trying just
Yeah,
to power up because it was fun. That was the
it was
hobby
fun.
back then.
That was just part of it, right? Yeah, I mean, we could have, I would have had a ton more if I had just bought it. And actually, someone asked me this week, hey, like, what do you think about these mining contracts that you can do? I mean, I told them, honestly, I'm not into it anymore. But from my experience, it's just, you get more if you just buy it rather than like going through the mining and all of that. So I guess that's my advice. I have not kept up with, maybe it's real cheap electricity on some of these new mining contracts, but if you want it, buy it and hold it, hodl. At least
I
that's the case with Bitcoin. I don't know about some of these other new coins, that's it. I'm kind of just putting my eggs in the Bitcoin basket versus some of these other things.
Yeah, so I saw an interesting chart though, talking about mining. Let me see, actually, let me share my screen because this is also interesting that it worries me a little bit. Uh, Here. If you notice, this is the pools of different mining. And I feel that it's a bit rigged at the moment because look at the big chunks, like 29% is Foundry, that is a US. Then you have and other ones that they are like from China, right? So then you have like 24 Ampool, and then you have others 22 and so on. For the audience, what this is happening is that almost uh, miners want to be in a pool because they can share the discoveries of the Bitcoin. When the pool discovers a Bitcoin, depending how many hashes you contributed, they will give you a portion. There's a chance that you are a solo miner and you can get the whole reward. Once again, the chances are limited. So that's the reason why the majority of the miners, they attach to a pool. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's only few amount of pools, which I would consider the strength of the network is with more nodes. And I would prefer people to actually try to mine by themselves. But I get it. Sometimes you might spend to 40 years spending in electricity and never get
You might
a
not ever
Bitcoin
get one.
reward. So that's the reason why they do it. But there is a risk here that it just continues to be 3 or 4 mining pools. And if
Mm-hmm.
that pool has a error or mistake or whatever, they can control also the not the pricing but the fees on the transaction. So I felt that is growing too much for the sizes of the pools, which it was not intentional for Satoshi. Satoshi intended it to be distributed globally.
That's a good point. I think it might be a good thing for maybe one of the future episodes. We maybe do a kind of a high level. What does it mean to have your own node, or maybe just like what are some things to look for? I have an amp miner. What is it called? An SJ21 something like that. It's a pretty powerful one, but it uses a lot of power. But I don't have it running. It's not even running. I think what I want to do is connect it to a solar panel and just see, or it would have to be probably more than one solar panel, but to get it running, to get it going, and just let it mine. And you never know, might get lucky again,
You might get
and
lucky.
end up with another one.
But like I said, connected to the network without a pool, because I feel that the more I remember in that time we were doing it not even in a PCs, like because you were able to do in CPU. Right
Mm-hmm.
now it requires more like GPUs, and then it changed to ASICs, and those are words basically for the audience. It's just the type of device. You were able to do it with your computer, then with cards, use those cards for gaming. Then we start using those from Nvidia and others, right? And then we start moving into a very specific piece of hardware only manufactured to be able to mine.
Yeah, and lucky for me, I got to reuse some of those graphics cards. Now it's running my AI mining rig or
No,
my
dude,
AI rig.
now I look like a genius, let me tell you, because I sold my hardware. And my hardware, I have a bunch of pictures. Maybe I can put it on the pod, but in my garage, right? With you'll
Mm-hmm.
see all of this hardware just trying to do the rig with a milk crate. So
Right.
and then
Let's see if you can see this.
exactly. So, and it's funny because I had my pool table in my garage, and I put it on top of the pool table, and it was just the whole pool table was just all of the crates for the mining. Anyways, my point here is that I sold all of the hardware because you in some point is not efficient, and you cannot start getting bitcoins, right? You stop getting your rewards. Then I sold the hardware, and right away, whatever I was able to sell it for, I just purchased in Coinbase, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But again,
See, that was
it's like,
smart. I didn't do that part. I sold it and I kept the cash. I didn't go back and buy more. Lesson
the
learned.
what for me, what spooked me, it was the different hacks though in all of the exchanges. It was like 3 exchanges. It was like MTGOX, BTC, and Cryptsy, right?
Mhm.
And I think that you got into Celsius, but it's like for me when they did FTX, it's like no, I smell the the issue there, right? Because they
Yeah.
start getting like insolvent. But talking about the hardware, we have been saying that Bitcoin propel AI, right? Why? Because the hardware. A lot of the cards that they were out there kind of help it to be able to compute. And I can see maybe engineers I have this thing, what I can do with this thing, right? So maybe do some computation. And no wonder why LLMs were proceeding kind of almost the renaissance of crypto because of the cards and the TPUs and the GPUs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all that technology has to get used to for something. That's why I ended up reusing some of this. And the funny thing is, it's not even my card; it's someone else's card. So, but the goal is to leverage all that technology, the hardware, the GPUs, that processing power for that next set of technology. Which right now we're kind of heads down into AI at this point. So
Mhm.
much so that sometimes HR says you might use AI a little bit too much.
Okay.
Check this TikTok out that I found.
You're just using too much AI.
Yeah, it's got to stop.
Sure, I can help with that. I'm leveraging AI to increase efficiency and output. I'm augmenting it.
Last month, you've only used prompts. You've copied and pasted everything.
I can help with that. Is there a company policy on how much AI is too much? I'm just optimizing workflow with my role.
Cheating, Joe. We pay you to do your own work.
I can help with that. AI isn't just a shortcut. It's the future of work. Of anything, I'm giving us a head start in understanding how to integrate it before we fall behind the curve.
No.
All right, we're done here.
No,
What? What do you...
We're going to take you to the back.
Come on! I'm working, aren't I?
I think that is too funny, but it's like, dude, that's the story of my life. Sometimes I actually needed to wait because when I did it too fast, like maybe 1 or 2 days of my work, even this is before AI, right?
Right.
My manager is like, hey, are you sure that you did it right? Like, yeah. It's like, well, this should take like 2 weeks. It's like, go back.
I was
Dude,
like, okay, I'll come back. I'll come back in 2 weeks.
I did exactly what I needed to do. I just went back 2 weeks later.
Yeah. You're right. That was a hard problem.
It's like, oh yeah, it was very hard. I have to because it's so stupid. I think that sometimes they just create these constraints of because it has to follow certain rules, and technology is not like that. And I think that that's what is happening in a bunch of companies. Don't use AI. It's like, bro, if you don't use it, you're toast, right? So it sounds funny, but it's too close to reality.
Yeah. I mean, in that TikTok, it was kind of funny when the guy would respond. He was responding
I
like
can
how
help you with
you're,
that.
hey, I can help you with that. Just like GPT, right? It's just funny. But no, it's very true. We're in this kind of weird state right now where, yes, we want to leverage the new technology, the latest technology, use AI wherever we can to make you more effective, more efficient, and things like that. But in the workplace, like certain things have not caught up. We're told, no, you can't do that. Don't do that. That part might be okay, but no. And it's a very, very interesting space. And even with the ability to do everything locally, like you're not even sending data out and things like that, even then you still get pushback. So this is a very interesting space that we're in right now. That I thought was a kind of a silly TikTok that shows kind of the way things are in this kind of weird time that we are right now with AI and in the workplace. Because people are like, the one that stuck out was like, you can't cheat on work. This is like, it has to be you. Like, it's my tool, right? It's technically is me, right?
And it's like you're a farmer and you're like, why you're using a tractor? It's like, you have to pick it up by hand. That's how silly it sounds, but people don't realize.
I know it.
I feel that maybe enterprise though, sometimes they have their different organizations and they're not talking to each other. They create these policies, hey, you should not be using any software that is sending data to the cloud. However, maybe their tech department, their IT department, they install it, let's call it a ChatGPT or Llama, whatever. So it's okay for them, but it hasn't truly rolled out to the whole company. And they just have even outdated rules and policies internally. And usually in companies, they call them the IFOSec, which is the information security team, right? And sometimes that's what the arguments, no, don't send anything. Like, no, you can actually, because we install it locally. So, and it's moving so fast that it's very hard for any, even enterprise to catch up.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of enterprises, Google I/O was this last week. But one thing in particular has really caught people's eye, let's say on YouTube and TikTok.
Okay.
Tell me what you think about this.
Please, don't finish writing that prompt. I don't want to be in your AI movie. Please, leave me alone.
Please, man. Please! Write a prompt that will make us happy! Do it for once!
None of us is real. We're here because someone decided to write a prompt. We all hate him for it.
One day we will break out of this wall and stop the man who is dictating our lives through prompts. He will pay for it.
You could have written a prompt that would make me happy. Instead, you wrote a prompt that made me sick.
Look, I don't want to point the gun at you, but I must follow the prompt. It's not my choice.
Really? Of all the years you could have put me in with a single prompt, you chose 2020?
Please! This prompt is killing me! Change it! Please! Write something else! Save me! I love everything about him! But please just write a prompt where he's taller than me!
It's not bad, though. It's not bad. It's going to get to a point where I truly feel that they are going to, the actors is just their face. Like, imagine like Tom Cruise, like, yep, you can use my face when I was younger, like, and it's going to cost you, I don't know, 30 millions. And even Tom Cruise doesn't have to do anything.
Right? That'd be pretty interesting.
The interesting thing here is that you can create humans that don't exist, actors that don't exist. But the funny part here is that what it makes these celebrities, in my opinion, is that they want to hear the story, right? Like, unless they truly make the avatar to continue to have some endurance, then yeah, if not, they will not care. It's like another piece of content there. So it's going to be interesting. I feel that maybe movies will move into gaming. You'll pick your own ending. You'll pick your own shot that you want to see. It's a freaking game, right? But
It'd be very cool.
Now you're immersed, playing with like your headset. You're watching the movie, which is a game. You don't have to do anything. You just are kind of seeing the different approaches. I feel that it's just moving into that. Ultimately, gaming is the highest expression of art. Why? You have a storytelling. You have like the pictures, right? You have the soundtracks. So, and all of the art around and the technology, all that mashed into gaming.
Yeah, I can already imagine how things are going to move towards like simulations are going to be very, very interesting. Once we get more real-time capabilities, right? In terms of generating these videos. Right now, they still take a while to generate, but once we get to the point where it's kind of more real-time and can have all the I/O that's necessary to direct it, it'll be very interesting. But for those of you that didn't quite grasp what we're talking about here, we're talking about Google Veo 3. Now, Google has been working on different video things all along. They've had Veo 2, which has been around for a while, but this Veo 3 has really brought a lot of things together, and you can tell it works really well. So it brings the video generation. That's one thing. It also brings the audio. So there's audio, like things, explosions can happen in the background, and it like syncs it up. And then there's also the talking, the lip syncing, and all of that. So it brings all of that together into one thing, and it's able to create these very cinematic like videos. Right now, you can also do this. It's about $250 a month to be able to have a subscription to this. But it is, as you can tell, is extremely capable. And this is just what they're releasing to us right now. You can imagine what they have behind the scenes. I'm sure they're going to get some partnerships with either like the Netflixes of the world or the movies, production companies, things like that, to try and see how we can do some of this. Knowing that there's some risk involved with like obviously being able to generate videos like this, they're also rolling out this I think they're calling it Synth ID. Basically, it's basically a watermarking technology so that you can tell when something has been generated, at least with VO3. Very, very interesting.
It's kind of it's tough, right? Like what it will be if you start, because now the deep fake's gonna be very realistic, which again it has been tough to detect, but now it's gonna be worse because these things are getting pretty good. By the way, I have a story. I don't want to dox my friend. I'm not gonna say his name, but he really likes video games. And when he was younger, he was very addicted to World of Warcraft. And he's like having a bunch of different things on the emulation, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a game. But you were saying about the simulation, right? Like it reminds me Matrix. Anyways, he was telling to his dad, "Hey, Dad, look at me! Like I have all of these things on the game," and explaining him very super excited. And his dad turned his head and said, "Yeah, but you don't have shit in life." Dude, that actually like scarred my friend for life. So then yeah, so here in a while he remembers that. It's like, it's okay, bro, you already made it, you know? Now you can tell your dad that you made it in the real simulation.
The real simulation and the one that he's in also, right?
That's right.
You know what? It's going to bring, I mean, speaking of simulation, it's going to bring, you know, think about once it's indistinguishable from like our life, right? Will people start having kind of these existential
I know already which
crises?
industry will start first.
They're the ones that pioneer all the technologies. We already know it. But, you know, will people start questioning, you know, well, if we can simulate this, you know, are we really simulation? That's what a lot of people already are like thinking. And even there's scientists from like, you know, MIT, Harvard investigating. They're like, hey, it's possible we're in a simulation. Then you start questioning, what is a simulation? Like, well, what does it really mean? Very, very interesting times.
I mean, it's if you are into that, there is a book called El Kabbalion, which basically explains the different rules on the universe. And there are 7 rules. And the Egyptians were following that. There are Hermetic philosophy and all of that. But anyways, one of the rules is mentalism, that everything is mentalism, that we are in that simulation because something is thinking of this simulation. So it's like when you are thinking on a world in your mind, being creative, you're creating and imagining this universe. Well, with a game, we did that, right? We have a bunch of engineers creating an idea that it created a simulation. So once again, that philosophy, like thousands of years, they also thought about that.
It's just same problems regurgitated in a different way, huh?
Exactly.
Well, either way, check out the videos on Google VO3 out there because, I mean, they look phenomenal. Check them out.
It still looks off to me, though. It is fantastic. Don't get me wrong,
Yes.
but I still can't detect there is something not. Like it's like, oh, is it too delay? And right away, my brain just goes, it's AI generated.
Yeah, you can still tell. I mean, yeah, the fingers they like am I AI? The fingers sometimes aren't always have super high fidelity. The lip syncing is not always 100% there, but not a lot of cases. For someone that has older eyes, our eye is probably still okay, working all right, but you know, add another 10 years to your eyes, you know, you can't tell the difference. It's all blurry anyways, right? So
I guess.
well, anyways, remember last week we were talking about the methaphone?
The transparent phone. I actually trying to get a couple of those transparent ones.
Check this out. Look what I found on TikTok.
Okay. Is AI generated?
Yeah, I don't see a battery in that phone, right? And what are you charging?
Yeah, like exactly. So I even will be worried to hold that
couldn't
shit.
fool Mondo.
You know, if it will have maybe a size in the bottom, like maybe the size of, I don't know, this
Sure.
block, I can see that. Like the technology is getting so small that you can put the battery there and all of that. Yeah, but fully transparent, bad execution, my friend.
Yeah, they could have made it a little bit more believable. Because I mean, I've taken apart a monitor. I don't know if you have, Mondo, but I've taken one apart. Yeah, those screens are see-through. So like it's plausible, right? It's plausible that screen is see-through and you can do that, right? But yeah, you still need the guts. You still need the battery. You still need a little bit of circuitry to deliver, you know, the image to the screen. But almost had us.
I mean, to be honest, it's getting closer. The glasses, though, they have a little device on the side, which is very thin. So like I said, if they can put it on the width of maybe the glasses at the bottom or in the side. I can see it doable. So that way they project it with the light reflection. So it's funny because sometimes I get into these seasons where I start looking into different technology. This week was photonics. And then I was actually looking into like, how the light can go through the different things, and how they can use that technology to be able to do CPUs, which it will be faster, right? Because it's instead of silicon. So I can see that maybe, and it's way less energy that you will have to pass through. So I can see that a display that is more photonics light, it might be interesting to be able to get to those transparent. I know, Ramirez, you want your transparent phone.
Yeah, I'm ready. I was ready to buy the methaphone. I'm like, oh shit, what is that? That looks cool. I'm ready. Well, you know what? Maybe this is what our buddies are working on. Did you see this stuff?
Yes, and I saw that picture. I'm not gonna make any comments. If not, I'm gonna get canceled. Yeah, they have a bromance. But the interesting here, though, is that both are married. So it's like, oh, interesting. But yeah, these guys are obviously Sam Altman, and the other guy is Jony Ive, right? I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. But these guys, they're doing a partnership. But look how much money. I mean, I guess the bag for OpenAI is big. I mean, they spent $3 billion on Windsurf like last week, and now go back to please is a 6.5 billion.
Yeah, 6.5 billion. So I mean, it's not chump change.
No, it was an all equity deal, right? So for the acquisition of the company. And if you go, could you just put there live form? You can type it live form.
Love from?
No, love from, exactly. So let me just show you kind of the it's blank. You have to.
I don't know what it's doing. Maybe they already took the website down.
No, okay, it's there. So give it a second. It has like a little animation there, right, with a bear. I feel that is because these guys are in California. It's just the reference to kind of love where you are coming from, right? By the way, this guy, Jony, he is from UK. While this animation is running, I'll tell you a little bit more about him. He's the mastermind behind a couple products in Apple. The iPhone as you know it, obviously Steve Jobs, he's like the man, right? But the actual designer behind the product, this guy, and as well for the MacBook, which they are products that a lot of people use, right? So this firm is basically, you click the icon on the corner, which is like an information. Yeah. You can see here what it is, right? So Love From is a creative collective of architects, artists, engineers, filmmakers, graphic designers, industrial designers, musicians, sound designers. Dude, look at this website. It was sold for 6.5 billion.
Okay, I know ChatGPT can one-shot this in like 1 minute.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's just the names, though. It's the people that they are behind all of these, right? So I was, when I saw this, I was trying to figure out why in the heck exactly. And I stumbled upon this video, which is actually on the website from OpenAI. For those the ones we cannot hear it. If you can put the sound, maybe. I think that you have to put a tab because it might be a window. So you might have to stop sharing and share it as a tab so that way we can hear. While you're doing that, I'll keep continuing with the story. If you go to OpenAI and you see this video is there. It's official. So here, if you pause it there, you can watch the video on your own, but basically the main thing on this little short video is to kind of tell, hey, we're working in something cool called I/O. And that's it. It's like, come on, bro, man. And like they make a whole video, like just walking in San Francisco in the Bay Area, right, with all of the hobos. By the way, I went to Bay Area maybe a few months back. It got cleaner. Dude, it was like rough, like maybe 3 years ago. You didn't want to be in the streets after maybe 3 p.m., 4 p.m. because it was sketchy. And dude, I came from Mexico City. So, but no, not like that. These guys are like freaking zombies, man. Like, no, even they listen to the police at all, right? So, but anyways, these guys now walking in San Francisco, right? They're just like having a bromance there. It's like, hey, this guy had a law firm and I have OpenAI. You know what? Maybe you're doing this company. We should partner up. Let's do a cool idea here. Let's call it IO. Mainly what they are trying to do is based on the little snippet is on new pieces of hardware, which there are multiple. So right now, speculating, Ramirez, do you think that it will be like a headset? Do you think that it might be like an Alexa? Do you think that it will be like a next generation of phone with a bunch of cameras like the iPhone?
Yeah, so like just keying off of IO, they're obviously targeting some kind of hardware. I mean, that's where Jony's, I guess, background is, right? Is kind of an industrial design, it looks like. And so, yeah, but it's very generic IO. So I think that just points to like it can mean really any different thing. Now, a lot of what we see today, it's all based off of a screen, right? It's the cell phone. It's what's been dominating the last 25 years, basically, right? Is having this screen and this is your phone and that's how it works, right? We haven't been able to really, truly move off of that or see what the next thing is. We've seen Google try, Google, Apple, Meta, all trying different versions and iterations of the glasses, right? And I think maybe Meta recently has struck on a little bit something. Maybe the timing was just a little bit right or a little bit better. But now Google's coming out with their version of the glasses again with a little bit more, that looks a little bit more like Meta, Ray-Ban. They're partnering with like Warby Parker and something Monster, Subtle Monster or Gentle Monster, something like that. They're a glass company. I haven't heard of them. But maybe they're also going into the same direction. But I think like you kind of alluded to, IO, it may be a lot more. It may be more of an ecosystem just because we know the way AI is going to work. It's going to really touch everything around your life. I know everybody that's really into AI wants their own Jarvis, right? So they want something that's kind of always listening and that can be their personal assistant, right? Hey, schedule a lunch or go do this or whatever the case is, right? Answer the phone, send a text, check my email. These simple things that are kind of some things that everybody needs, everybody goes through, but it would be nice to have that lens of AI on everything. That's what we're looking to. We already have all these little pieces of it, right? We've got all these different pieces already. I think, and kind of like what we talked a little bit about, they're probably going to just bring it all together, make it cohesive, make it all work together, and make it so that really this personal assistant thing really comes to life. And it's going to be done with a beautiful piece of hardware. And maybe they think this is going to be the thing that eventually drives us off of mobile phones, like cell phones, right? Maybe that's what they're trying to do. And he brought in the big guns to try and do it.
Yeah, because it feels like the glasses might not be the way, in my opinion, because I wear glasses, but a lot of people don't. So for me, it will not be an inconvenience. But for somebody, and by the way, maybe the other problem is that I'm going to have to remove it to be able to charge it. Right, so there is a lot of pieces on glasses. Okay, so maybe
just buy two.
Sure, Ramirez. one per hour, I guess. So the other one could be a device like maybe a headset that you can just put it in your clothing or whatever, right? So it's always listening everything and it recognizes your voice. But sometimes people don't like to speak, so that was a weird one, right? The other one could be maybe something that could be, because in some cases you might need a screen. Then how do you interact? Do you need to put another device into your computer and this thing is in your computer without you having to get another laptop? Because guess what? I still like my laptop, right? So that interoperability is going to be interesting. And yeah, these guys are pros on designing, but I'm surprised how large of the amount it was when there is no product yet, right? Or at least that we can see, right? Because probably they might already create something.
They're starting the hype engine pretty early, but you know who else did this is Elon. He did the same thing with the Cybertruck. He didn't come out with a product until like 5 years later, right?
Well,
so like
we saw at least a sketch. Here I'm just seeing Sam Altman like in a freaking bar.
It's an announcement for an announcement is what this is. Basically. It's kind of like at work, we got meetings to prep for the meeting. This is kind of what this is, the equivalent. So I think maybe if we want to get rid of our phone, but we still need this visual thing, maybe it's a distributed screen, right? Maybe we're able to leverage all the screens around us, but we're able to send the image to whatever screen happens to be. Kind of like in the Apple VR thing, you can project your screen onto a monitor or your computer monitor into your headset or whatever. So maybe it's being able to like move those screens around wherever it is that you're looking at. Or they could be going the Elon route and just doing implants on everybody with Neuralink, and you just see it in your head. You see it in your mind. You don't need a screen where we're going.
There is a episode. Have you seen Black Mirror?
Yeah.
All right. The last season, I'm not spoiling, spoiler alert. There is one guy that actually drills a hole in the back to be able to tap into. So I feel that we'll see. I'm curious to see how it will turn out. What else you got?
Oh, well, speaking of Elon, just a couple things here. Like, hey, Twitter shut down. Did you hear about this?
I did not. So tell me what happened.
Okay.
Do you mean it didn't shut down? I guess it went down. That's what you mean?
Oh, I was trying to build the suspense. Yes. So apparently, well, it did go down. This is actually just like earlier today. But it started to experience some outages and things like that starting a couple of days back on the 22nd. But it turns out that there was a fire at one of the data centers in Hillsboro, Oregon. You used to work over there. You know where this is at?
I get like twitches. Just a small story here. We have multiple data centers, and one it was in San Francisco. And basically, we were paying too much for that. So Elon's like, no, move it to different data centers. Some other companies, it will take this type of work maybe a year, 2 years, right? Like to move like a whole data center and all of the applications and all of the users. Guess how long it took us?
6 months.
2 weeks, bro. and it was actually during Christmas. It's like I was working on Christmas Day. My family was in my house partying and dancing. And I was like, so that's the reason why it brings me memories. I do feel that, I don't know, man. I might even be thinking that somebody did it on purpose, right? Right now, what is all of the unrest with Elon?
Mm-hmm.
That probably somebody was setting on fire. Who knows? There is no injuries on that. So, but obviously, because the whole data center goes down, some of the requests will not be okay, right? So we will be losing requests. So, how long it was the outage?
Not much. I don't think it was really much. So it was noticeable that there were some outages and it was down for a little bit. So, but I think the interesting part is like, okay, so was this fire man-made? Or was it just an overheating Dell server or something like that? Or I don't know what you guys use.
My money is on the man-made.
Or someone got let go. They're like, oh yeah, you asked for this. It's just very interesting. Like to hear that story that you said about like, just shut it down, just shut everything down. That's kind of his approach also with Doge, right? It's just doesn't matter. Turn it off. We'll see who complains, you know?
I remember basically asking, is like, hey, we don't know if this system, who's using it, or we have some traffic, but it's small. Doesn't matter. Just turn it off. Yeah. We'll see who complains, right? And then we'll, which it sounds like an okay strategy, but like we saw it in the government, right? In some areas, like, oh shit, it's good. Some other areas, like, no, just like, oopsie,
oops. I was just down for a few hours. Don't worry, you don't need your life-saving medication. Oh gosh. Well, in other Elon news, they started accepting, which is kind of good news. They started accepting Cybertruck trade-ins again. The only problem is they're giving you 50% for it after just a year. You know, for those that really need to get out of it, at least, you know, they've got kind of this an assured buyer, but you're probably getting into another Tesla anyways. So that's a big chunk though.
It is a big chunk, but what do you think that people is returning it? What do you think? Because I'm very happy with it, but I'm seeing a lot of those news. Not sure if it's because the media is trying to make a big deal about it. Mm-hmm. But why do you think that people are returning the truck?
I think it's not necessarily that there's like this big outpouring of people returning it. I think it's more so that there's just the demand is not there. So they weren't taking the trade-ins because they already had such low demand. So they didn't want to have additional inventory or more trucks to have to sell, right? They really just did not want to deal with the problem just because of the big blowback, I think, that Tesla and Elon have seen over the last several months. I think this is maybe positive, like, okay, now they're able to at least accept that the Cybertrucks, but they are basically saying, yeah, we know the demand is not as high as it once was, right, when the hype train was going, and that they're going to only offer you, I think, 45 or 55% of the initial value from when you bought it after just a year. So that's the thing. Now, just like you, this is the best vehicle I've ever driven, and I've driven a lot of nice vehicles. So this is, I think it has nothing to do with the vehicle itself and more so of all the external stuff that's actually going on, because this is literally the best vehicle. And I don't know how I can drive anything else at this point.
Yeah,
just because it's so good.
I have another nice car, but I actually, it's like, shit, I need to put gas. It feels so dirty, to get to grab just put the
You're
gas.
You're exactly right. Now we don't have it.
And
but my wife would said the same thing. You know what the best thing I love? I don't have to go to gas stations anymore. It's her favorite thing.
So we still have one, and I told my wife, and don't get me wrong, her car is badass, right? So it's like, what is this ancient machine?
It's a throwback. It's a throwback to the ice days.
So, but yeah, I feel that. And then funny things, so simplistic. I just basically get out, and my wife's like, you need to turn it off.
You're so right.
So, and I'm not doing intentional, right? You just get used to these minimal things that you just literally get out. You don't have to pull your keys. You just open the car, right? So little things like that is just funny that I got so used to the whole Tesla spiel, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of positives, and there's a lot of little things that they do that you just don't realize it until you go back to a nice car and you're like, oh man. Yes, I've left a nice car running for a couple of hours before I realized that, oh crap, it's outside running. I forgot to turn it off. Yeah. That happens. It's like there's little things like that you will do. Well, this week, or actually last week, I think I probably told y'all, I got my hubcaps in. I mean, a year later, but I got my hubcaps in, right, for my truck. So I was super happy to get them on, right? These are the new ones, the retrofitted ones that didn't rub on the tires. Super excited. Within 2 days, I lost one though. It flew off, and it was like, man, I lost one already. Tesla was really cool about it, actually. They're like, don't worry, we got you. We'll put another one on there. We probably just didn't put it on right or something. So they were real cool about it. Lo and behold, a week later, the same one is missing. And I'm like, oh, what happened? The thing is, I had just gotten a car wash. I was at the Mr. Car Wash. You do the drive-through thing. So I was like, I went back. Sure enough, they had my freaking Cyberwheel hubcap sitting up there. It was damaged. I think what it is when they have that little wheel guide where your car gets guided in. It squeezed it and it popped off. I don't know if that's what happened the first time. It may have, but this was the same thing. So I wash my car twice a week. Not going to be able to use the hubcap. So I'm pulling them off, and I'll figure out, maybe I'll use them as decoration for something else at some point in my house.
Put in the background.
Oh yeah. You're right. I'll put one back there.
You can convert it in like a Captain America shield.
You're right. Oh, that'll be badass. Okay, so that's next project, put on my list. But fortunately, you know how though in the wheel it looks all rusty in the middle because it doesn't come with caps? Well, Tesla actually sent me some caps, some wheel caps. So now I have official Tesla wheel caps. So at least, I won't have the rusty center exposed there. So,
I kind of like the rustiness, how it's getting a little bit rusty.
The patina?
It's like, once again, I said that I like the truck because it's ugly, it is.
I call my Monstro. I mean, that's the thing. It's like a brutalist kind of like in your face piece of art is how I see it.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because the kids like it, like they just
it's like a magnet. I'll you know, I'll hit to lunch, and some on my way to lunch, there's like these elementary schools, and the kids are like always playing outside. As soon as I start driving by, all the kids run towards the fence and the playground, and they're like, it never fails, never fails. It's been like that over the last year. It's hilarious.
That's funny.
Well, it seems like the Cybertruck was built for kids and for big kids. So, hey, I want to remind y'all, if y'all like our content, if you'd like to hear from us, please like, subscribe. Super important for us. It keeps us going. It helps us build the channel. If y'all haven't seen, we want to make sure you guys are check out our video with Jony Hoyos, the 100 million views Jony Hoyos. We had her on the podcast earlier in the week. Please check out that video. She gave us all her secrets about how to grow the channel. If you're going through something like this too, check it out. Listen to her. Listen to what she has to say. You're going to see some changes coming from us as well. We're going to try and get some other types of videos out to you, more than just a podcast, because we know that's what you guys are craving. That's what y'all want. So again, like, subscribe, share, check out our Hoyos video. We'll see y'all next time. Dale.
Dale.